Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here. And yesterday on Twitter, Marilyn Manson was trending. So, of course, I went to check out what was going on because I knew that he had a new album coming out, and that album was actually going to be produced by Shooter Jennings. And Shooter used to come on InfoWars about a decade ago. He did that really interesting album where it was this concept album with Stephen King doing short little skits as kind of this underground radio host talking about these different things. So I thought to myself, this album might be pretty good. There are songs I've enjoyed about Marilyn Manson in the past. However, I do want full disclosure, everybody to understand that I have seen questionable videos of Marilyn Manson from these pseudo underground documentaries back in the day that are disturbing. The guy is very, very intelligent, but how much is a show and how much is reality? How much sadism and control a person really wants, kind of disguised in what is a play act? Marina Abramovic, anyone? Just pointing that out. They always put on these personas, but what are they like? In the background, where you don't see them as much. Well, Evan Rachel Wood has kind of gained mega stardom with Westworld. Very interesting show. I should honestly do more videos on Westworld because it's so much of this transhumanist automation nation, full control AI movement, social credit score system that is now coming into fruition. I mean, that is a reality. Westworld is starting to prep people, in my opinion, for what the super class, the predator class, the elitists, whatever you want to call them, envision for our future. So she's this megastar in here, and I was actually watching Showbiz Kids. Okay, so Showbiz Kids is this documentary that's out there. It's put out by Alex Winter of Bill and Ted. Yes, not Keanu Reeves. And he's also in The Lost Boys. He did a lot of stuff in the 80s and 90s. He's a childhood actor, right? And a lot of people don't understand he does awesome documentary films, from the Panama Papers to this current documentary, which I only watched 40 minutes of because I was nodding off. I need to watch the rest of it. Showbiz Kids, to ones on Ross Ulbricht and the dark web, okay? And I'm actually going to have Ross's mother on probably in the next week or so. I'm going to reach out to her tomorrow, and I'm probably going to touch up by watching his documentary. But Evan Rachel Wood is in Showbiz Kids. I didn't realize she'd been working, and I think she's the daughter of an entertainer as well, in Hollywood, for her whole life. And it just so happens that she dated Marilyn Manson. Now, I want to say this. I don't know these things 100%, and I'm not a believe all women, just like I'm not a believe all men kind of guy. But what we're going to show you is not only like this mega viral clip that went through the moon, and I was watching, I was like, man, this is rough. But we're also going to show you her, it's either from I believe it's from a separate hearing, because she's told this story several times. But this is supposedly about Marilyn Manson. It's all over the news. So before we play these two clips and kind of go over them, remember, you might hear some, pretty harmful content here over at the Burmis Brigade. So $5, $10, $15, big donations, guys. Thank you so much. We're on our way to Iowa. I got to start boxing stuff up this next week. Hopefully that is not going to hinder my progress on these videos, and we'll be still kicking out the jams several times a day. Remember, all the documentary films are free in the playlist section. Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture are all free right here, right now. Make sure you are checking them out. And Rockfin, although I should have just done this, is where I'll be if I get kicked off this platform. This is it. This is the place. So, Rockfin, make a free account. Oh, you get Sam Tripoli as well. Actually, if you make the premium account, you get all of our premium content, but there's a ton of free videos on there right now. And we are actually successfully, with no problem, simulcasting to Rockfin for premium members right now. But we've got a free exclusive up there right now, Kokesh versus myself, in a very, very long and I think great conversation. So let's do it. Let's play it. Here's Evan Rachel Wood, and this is her describing her relationship with Marilyn Manson.
When I was a teenager, I met a man. I looked up to him in many ways and felt like we had a special bond, and I had no intention of it turning into something romantic. When it eventually did, I wasn't sure how to stop it, as he had a certain charisma and power, and I quickly surrendered to his charms. In the beginning, he treated me like a princess. I was smart, but a smart 18-year-old is still an 18-year-old, and I thought I had fell in love. It wasn't until much later that I realized everything he had told me was a lie and part of what is called the grooming process. He'd hidden a terrible drug and alcohol problem from me. He moved very fast in the relationship, asking me to move in with him almost immediately. There was a certain way he wanted me to look, otherwise I would endure name-calling and ridicule. He cut me off from my close friends and family one by one by exhibiting rage in some form or another when I was in contact with them. The only way I knew how to calm him was to give him what he wanted, which was me all to himself in total isolation. He had bouts of extreme jealousy, which would often result in him wrecking our home, cornering me in a room, and threatening me. I witnessed my abuser threatening people with force or legal action if he worried they would expose him. He bragged about being able to have people killed because he was allegedly friends with multiple gangs, and I watched him illegally collect data on people that he could use as blackmail.
Let's stop right there. That's a pretty heavy allegation outside of just kind of like domestic abuse that comes in that, you know, this guy, you know, is bragging about his gang connections, how he could have people killed, how he was using, you know, digital espionage against, you know, individuals, basically. I know espionage is state-run, but when you're in Hollywood, man, you better bet that there are state representatives, and they're using the gangs too, just like government agencies. I mean, just look at the crack epidemic. Look what happened with Ricky Ross. Sometimes assets don't even know they're assets. And again, I'm not saying that Marilyn Manson is some kind of a government agent, but just for him to flaunt that power, that he does these things. And remember, it's our government agencies that kind of hire these digital saboteurs anyway. So you don't think that private individuals are doing that through certain networks? So let's continue. And by the way, I get it. She's an actress, but look how quickly she's talking. Look, maybe she's just super great at looking uncomfortable and trying to get through the information as quickly as possible because it's pretty painful. But I don't know. Seems pretty genuine to me. Maybe I've been fooled. But again, I'm leaving it up to you to decide. No definitive moments here.
By the time I realized I was in a bad situation, I felt completely trapped and terrified for my life. He gifted me a cell phone, which I found out he was monitoring. He downloaded spyware onto my computer and hacked into my emails and social media accounts so I could not reach out for help. When my friends and family tried to intervene, I simply told them to leave because I was afraid of what he would do. He broke me down through means of starvation, sleep deprivation, and threats against my life, sometimes with deadly weapons, which would result in me having severe panic attacks where I was unable to breathe or stop shaking. Sometimes he would not allow me to sleep until I participated in acts of fear, pain, torture, and humiliation, which I felt powerless to stop. In some of these tapes, which he also videotaped, in some of these tapes, he can be heard threatening to kill me, threatening my friends, or threatening to kill members of my family. He also threatened to leak parts of the footage or photographs he had taken as a way to keep me quiet. I mustered the courage to leave several times, but he would call my house incessantly and threaten to kill himself. On one occasion, I returned to try and defuse the situation. He cornered me in our bedroom and asked me to kneel while he tied me up by my hands and feet. Once I was restrained, he beat me and shocked.
Okay, so shocked sensitive parts of my body was what was next. So here's another clip of her right here talking about more of this abuse. And people can say she's acting this or that. This is again, somebody who's been an actor since childhood. But again, when you think about these things, and you do know the guy is, and has been an avid, hardcore drug user. Let's get that right out of the way. That's a reality. Okay? And I haven't gotten through Showbiz Kids, but I know there's a brief moment where they talk about the sexual abuse of children. And just in case I didn't clue you in, because Alex Winter was a childhood actor, again, now a documentary filmmaker, still an actor, the other half of Bill and Ted, right? He was also sexually abused as a child. And I haven't done the video, and I need to, but a couple of Kevin Spacey's underage actor victims have now filed suit against him. Good luck with that, because we know what happens to Kevin Spacey's accusers. But I'm also going to play this one right here, which is at the House Judiciary Subcommittee. Okay?
And I'm an artist, but I'm also a domestic violence and sexual assault survivor and the single mother of a young boy. When I was 5 years old, I started working in film, and every day since then I've worked to reach the very privileged place I'm aware that I occupy. And I'm here today to use my position as an artist, survivor, mother, and advocate to bring a human voice to the population of 25 million survivors in the U.S. who are currently experiencing inequality under the law and who desperately need basic civil rights. I struggle to speak to you today because I'm not sure what words are appropriate when discussing this issue. However, if you can't hear the whole truth, you will never know true empathy, and I believe in the saying, if we have to live through it, then you should have to hear it. There are two specific instances of sexual assault and violence I've experienced that really stick out in my mind. In fact, they are burned into my brain, branded there for life, a mental scar that I feel every day.
So let's talk about that too. It's not like Manson is the only one that abused her. Again, I haven't finished Showbiz Kids, but you have to wonder, if this guy was grooming her pre-18 and got her when she was 18, what happened to her even before then? Hollywood is a dangerous place in general. Not only for because of sexual predators and psychologically and the lies and the backstabbing and the phoniness, right? But yes, the human trafficking and abuse of stars, especially kids. That's why I still try to turn people on to things like An Open Secret, because that specifies the issue in Hollywood and shows you a guy like Bryan Singer still not in jail today. And you look at the mountain of evidence of what was going on there. And if you ever think he stopped, what are people thinking? Again, it's just like yesterday, it comes out that there's some kind of McGregor arrest on a sexual assault, and we have a slew of other instances previously that the media has decided to cover up, okay? Because they basically work on behalf of those that own Disney, right? Disney owns Fox. Think about all the different, media mechanisms that rely on the franchises that Disney now owns. It's unbelievable. Marvel, that's huge. It's huge. And they just don't report on Conor McGregor and his alleged sexual assault. So you know what he keeps doing because he's not in jail? He's a serial violent rapist. He doesn't stop. Okay? Think about what Harvey Weinstein actually did before he went to jail. And that was a shocker. That's a big win for us. That should tell you, okay, that if you battle enough, sometimes the system is somewhat just. Sometimes. Not all the... I was as shocked as anybody. I was as glad to be wrong on that as anything. So let's just continue here. Again, childhood actress. She's already talked about the Manson stuff specifically, but I think this is important as well.
My experience with domestic violence was this. Toxic mental, physical, and sexual abuse, which started slow but escalated over time, including threats against my life, severe gaslighting and brainwashing, waking up to the man that claimed to love me raping what he believed to be my unconscious body. And the worst part, sick rituals of binding me up by my hands and feet to be mentally and physically tortured until my abuser felt I had proven my love for them. In this moment, while I was tied up and being beaten and being told unspeakable things, I truly felt like I could die, not just because my abuser said to me, I could kill you right now, but because in that moment I felt like I left my body and I was too afraid to run. He would find me. I froze. And it was as if I could see myself from the outside, and for the first time in months, I felt something, utter shame and despair. I had no idea what to do to change my situation, so I went numb, and soon I couldn't feel anything. I wasn't alive. My self-esteem and spirit were broken.
With all of this, BDSM stuff, look, you do your thing. I'm not a preacher. I'm not trying to, tell you how to live in your bedroom or your sexual life. But I got to tell you, I know and have dated girls that maybe have a lot of tattoos or maybe into this kind of lifestyle somewhat. Maybe have worked in a dungeon or two. I'm not saying like a long time, but let's just say I've got my experiences. And there's always something wrong. Let me repeat that. There's always something wrong. And for some of these girls, and I've stayed in touch with some, as things get better, if they decide to make them better, those things fade into the background. If their life only worsens and worsens and worsens, things get darker. But some people feed on the power and the darkness. There's always a market for that.
I was deeply terrified, and that fear lives with me to this day. What makes me more hurt and more angry than the actual rape and abuse itself was that piece of me that was stolen, which altered the course of my life. Because of this abuse, my already spiritless person, when I was pushed onto the floor of a locked storage closet by another attacker after hours at a bar, my body instinctively knew what to do: disappear, go numb, make it go away. Being abused and raped previously made it easier for me to be raped again, not the other way around. And not a day goes by when I don't hear the words this man whispered into my ear over and over: "You're going to be fine, you're going to be fine, you're going to be fine." And then my small voice sang back, "No, no, 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 no," until it faded into nothing. And I remember the feeling of shutting down or freezing and utter shock taking over, and I couldn't even make a sound. I felt a piece of me disappear, a piece that has never returned. In other words, I was not fine, and I am not fine. So often we speak of these assaults as no more than a few minutes of awfulness, but the scars last a lifetime. Even though these experiences happened a decade ago, I still struggle with the aftermath. My relationship suffers, my partners suffer, my mental and physical health suffers. 7 years after my rapes, plural, I was diagnosed with long-term PTSD, which I had been living with all that time without knowledge about my condition.
Let's just stop it there. That's the thing. Trauma inflicted, no matter what, has a lasting effect on the rest of your life when it's great enough. Trauma inflicted at a younger age and continuously can sometimes fragment parts of the brain. Let's be honest. You look at MK Ultra, you look at not only the drugs they were using, but the sexual abuse and torture, okay? And we're not going to get into things that are speculative, like what actually happened in Montauk, because there's so much wackiness. But at the end of the day, certain things were there. And there were sub-projects all over the coastline. Okay? And we know, at the bare minimum, this is not speculative, that things like MK Ultra had these brothels and were using street prostitutes. Well, I got news for you. In the 60s and 70s, a lot of those street prostitutes, they were as young as 12. And do you think they were marking them down? And making sure everybody was 18? That's not how things worked. This child blackmail scheme that's been going on, that's documented by people like Whitney Webb, even into the mafioso days, right, is very real and very prolonged.
I simply thought I was going crazy. I struggled with depression, addiction, agoraphobia, night terrors. So many times a sleeping partner of mine has awoken to their love screaming in the night and gasping for air in a pool of sweat after having some sort of vivid dream of my abuser or hearing them say my name so loudly in my ear. The feeling of paralysis returns when there's a loud noise and I'm home alone, convinced someone is coming to hurt me. I stay awake all night clutching a baseball bat, which began to replace my distraught and absent partners as trust and touch became increasingly more difficult. I struggled with self-harm to the point of 2 suicide attempts, which landed me in a psychiatric hospital for a short period of time. And this was, however, a turning point in my life when I started seeking professional help to deal with my trauma and mental stress. But others are not so fortunate, and because of this, rape is often more than a few minutes of trauma, but a slow death. And this...
You know what? I think I'm going to let it go there. She has like a little finish, and obviously... this is edited for parts, but you can see it right there. This is very real. This is what you do to human beings. All right? And it's not like, her as a childhood actress amongst these people is, some kind of a unique story. Can you imagine what happens to the people that don't make it? I mean, I am so sympathetic to Bella Thorne, for instance, right? Bella Thorne's in the news, I think, a week or two ago because she scammed her OnlyFans. Listen, if you're paying on OnlyFans, no offense, okay, you're kind of getting scammed already, whether she's going to give you the original nude or not. I just want to let you know that. I was thinking about getting an OnlyFans. I mean, you're not going to get Nipples McBurmis. You'll only get this. But, I mean, if you're buying, I don't get it. I've never gotten kind of like, the pay for anything, sexually type of thing. I just don't get it, especially in the internet age. I mean, do you really want to interact digitally? I honestly don't get strip clubs and all that other stuff. I've been to a strip club a handful of times with people. It's not my thing-go. But with Bella Thorne, this Disney actress being brought up, look at how she's turned out and what's going on there. And she tells you from the time she was 6 to the time she was 14, she was being sexually abused. And everybody around her knew it. And again, going back to that, Disney doesn't give a truck cover up. And I only say Disney for McGregor because why? Disney owns ESPN Plus, right? The UFC, if you look at it, right, just sold to this big mega corporation, WME Entertainment. Oh, you don't think WME represents people that work for Disney, or like that's the biggest get? Don't you understand how this is all integrated and works? And Reebok has the deal. So you think that Disney will just cover up like the McGregor sexual assault stuff, but not massive sexual abuse of kids. And you see what happens later. So, you know what? That's how we do it, guys. What you heard today was more than likely some pretty harmful content, some pretty edgy stuff here on YouTube. Even though it's the truth. How dare I? How dare I not be phony about a phony Me Too movement? And remember, say what you want about Rose McGowan, because Rose McGowan's got some things going on, but she stepped up to the plate and she's called out a lot of the phony Me Too stuff. And Rose McGowan also dated Manson way back in the day. Way, way back in the day. We're talking, I think, 20 years ago plus. Right around there. So, folks, if you can, $5, $10, $15, it means the world to me. Thumbs it up, subscribe, share. And remember, DM these videos to people. Find one video in particular like, wow, that's a lot of good information. I think my buddy would like that. Don't just post it. Send it to somebody, say, hey, check this guy's channel out, check this out, boom. And that's how we really spread the information. It's great you post it on other social media, but let's be honest, the algorithms killed that. If you spend another 30 seconds explaining to somebody individually why they should watch it and share it, that's how we get it out there. All these documentary films, if you haven't watched them, please do and share them. They're so important. Loose Change Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order to Find and Shade the Motion Picture, free right here, right now. Remember, if I get kicked off of this platform, it's Rockfin. It's Rockfin. It's Rockfin. We're streaming right now to Rockfin as well. And we've got a free exclusive over there at Rockfin, an hour-plus discussion with Adam Kokesh on 9/11. So go check that out. You just have to make a free account. Premium members, you get extra stuff, and you get everybody's premium content, all the content on Rockfin, which really helps support me as well. Guys, I love you. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you on the flip side.